HFY Stories, The Ghost Rises. The starship Resolute Dawn drifted through the void, its engine silent and its crew gone, a derelict to some, a mystery to others, and to Captain Alara of the salvaged ship Iron Veil, it was a potential goldmine. The Resolute Dawn had vanished 5 years earlier while on a mission to negotiate with the Carrack, a warlike alien species known for their disdain of humanity. Now, the ship had reappeared in the uncharted fringe of known space, intact but abandoned. Alara stood on the bridge of the Iron Veil, her crew nervously monitoring the proximity alerts. "Bring us alongside," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air, "and prepare the boarding team." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Kara, hesitated. "Captain, the stories, they say the Resolute Dawn was lost to something unnatural, ghosts or worse." Alara raised an eyebrow. "Ghosts don't leave derelicts. Something happened here, and we're going to find out what. Besides, there's no profit in fear." Minutes later, the boarding team crossed the umbilical bridge to the Resolute Dawn. The interior was eerily pristine, as if the crew had simply vanished mid-step. Terminals hummed with dormant power, and half-eaten meals sat untouched in the mess hall. "Life support is active," Kara's reported, "but there's no sign of life. It's like they just disappeared." Alara's gaze swept the corridor. "Stay sharp, let's head to the bridge and access the logs." The team moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the silence. As they approached the bridge, a chill seemed to seep into the air, the lights flickered, and a faint whisper echoed through the halls. "Did anyone hear that?" one of the crew muttered, gripping their weapon tighter. Alara motioned for silence and pressed on. They reached the bridge, where the captain's chair sat ominously empty. Alara approached the central console and powered it up. The logs displayed garbled text, fragments of distress signals, and cryptic warnings. "Beware the ghost," Kara's read aloud, his voice shaking. "What does that mean?" Before anyone could answer, the air grew colder, and a shimmering figure materialized at the center of the bridge. It was humanoid but translucent, glowing faintly with an unnatural light. Alara stepped forward, her pulse steady. "Who, or what, are you?" The figure's voice was a distorted echo. "I was Captain Drays of the Resolute Dawn. We were betrayed. The Carrack ambushed us, but that wasn't the end. They unleashed a weapon, one that binds the soul to the void. My crew, we're trapped." Alara's breath caught. "Trapped? How do we free you?" The ghost's form flickered. "Destroy the core. The weapon's power is tied to the ship's systems. Free us, and end this curse." Kara's voice broke through the tension. "Captain, if we destroy the core, the ship will be lost. No salvage." Alara turned to her crew. "The Resolute Dawn was a symbol of humanity's hope and strength. We can't let it remain a prison." She looked at the ghost. "We'll help you." The ghost bowed its head. "Thank you for giving us peace." The team worked quickly, bypassing security protocols and rigging explosives to the core. As they retreated to the Iron Veil, the ghost of Captain Drays appeared one last time, saluting them. When the core detonated, the Resolute Dawn disintegrated in a burst of light, and the whispers of the trapped souls faded into silence. Back on the Iron Veil, Alara watched the debris field on the viewscreen. "Sometimes, the greatest victories aren't about what we gain," she said quietly, "but about what we set free." The crew nodded, their fear replaced by quiet reverence. Humanity's spirit had risen once more, even in the void of loss. The ghost was gone, but its legacy endured. The crew of the Iron Veil thought they had left the ghosts of the Resolute Dawn behind, but as they charted a course back to human-controlled space, strange phenomena began to occur. At first, it was subtle, strange energy readings on the sensors, faint echoes in the comm systems, and moments when the ship's lights flickered. Then, during a routine systems check, Engineer Tolan stumbled into the mess hall, his face pale. "Captain, you need to see this," he stammered. Alara followed him to the engine room. On one of the screens, a faint message had appeared, written in human standard code. "Thank you for freeing us. The fight is not over." "Is this some kind of glitch?" Kara's asked, eyeing the display warily. Tolan shook his head. "No, this came from inside the ship's systems. It's like something left a parting message." Alara frowned, her mind racing. The destruction of the Resolute Dawn should have ended whatever lingering presence had been aboard. "Run a full diagnostic. I want to know if there's anything else in the system." As Tolan worked, the message began to repeat, this time with additional words. "Carrack weapon active. More souls bound. You must stop it." Alara's heart sank. "They're telling us the Carrack are still using that weapon, and if more souls are trapped, we might have just destroyed one piece of a much bigger problem." Kara's finished grimly. The captain straightened, her resolve hardening. "Set a course for the nearest Carrack territory. If they've got more of those weapons, we're not letting them keep them." The crew was silent, the weight of the decision settling over them. Facing the Carrack directly was tantamount to suicide. Humanity was at a technological disadvantage, and the aliens had shown no mercy in past conflicts. But the thought of leaving others to suffer the same fate as the Resolute Dawn's crew was unbearable. As they prepared for the journey, the strange energy readings intensified. Alara began to suspect that the lingering presence from the Resolute Dawn wasn't gone but had instead followed them. At night, she dreamed of Captain Draze and his crew, their spectral forms standing alongside her, silently urging her forward. When the Iron Veil finally approached Carrick's base, it was met with an unmarked vessel, bristling with weapons. Before Alara could issue an order, the ghostly energy surged through the ship, panels lit up with activity, and the Iron Veil's systems began to operate on their own. "What's happening?" Kara shouted, gripping the console. Alara's voice was calm, though her heart raced. "They're with us." The unmarked Carrick vessel opened fire, but the Iron Veil responded with precision and power far beyond its usual capabilities. It was as if the ghosts themselves were guiding the ship. Within moments, the enemy ship was disabled, and the Iron Veil docked with it. Alara led the boarding team, her crew flanked by the shimmering apparitions of Dre's crew. Together, they stormed the Carrick vessel, finding a hidden chamber deep within. Inside was a massive device, humming with dark energy, the weapon responsible for trapping souls. As Alara and her team placed charges to destroy it, one of the ghosts spoke. "You must continue. There are more like this, hidden across the galaxy. Humanity must rise to stop them." Alara nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We will." The weapon was destroyed, and the Iron Veil retreated to safety, but Alara knew their mission was far from over. The ghosts of the Resolute Dawn had risen to fight for humanity, and now, the crew of the Iron Veil would carry their legacy forward. This was no longer just about survival, it was about ensuring humanity's place in the galaxy. The ghosts had risen, and so too would humanity, stronger than ever. The destruction of the Carrick weapon marked the beginning of a new chapter for the crew of the Iron Veil. But as Captain Alara plotted their next moves, it became clear that the fight ahead would require more than just bravery. It would require alliances, strategy, and a deeper understanding of the Carrick's mysterious soul-binding technology. ###A call for unity. Back in human-controlled space, Alara presented her findings to the Interstellar Alliance Council. The room was filled with the most influential leaders of humanity's scattered colonies, all skeptical of her claims. "You're telling us that the Carrick have a weapon that traps the souls of their victims?" one delegate scoffed. "And that you were guided by ghosts?" Alara's jaw tightened. "I'm telling you that this weapon exists. The crew of the Resolute Dawn sacrificed everything to warn us. We destroyed one of the devices, but there are more out there. If we don't act, countless more will suffer their fate." The council murmured, divided. The Carrick were a threat humanity had tried to avoid provoking for years. Starting an offensive seemed unthinkable. A voice from the back of the chamber broke the tension. "I believe her." The crowd turned to see Admiral Jonas Kairos, a battle-hardened leader who had faced the Carrick in the First Contact War. "I've seen what the Carrick are capable of. They're not just warriors, they're strategists. If Captain Alara says they're using this weapon, we'd be fools to ignore her." With Kairos's support, the council reluctantly agreed to sanction a reconnaissance mission into deeper Carrick territory. Alara was given a small task force of ships, including advanced prototypes designed for stealth and rapid strikes. The mission was clear: find and destroy the remaining soul-binding weapons. ###. The hunt begins. Alara's task force ventured into Carrick space, using advanced cloaking technology to avoid detection. Their first lead came from intercepted communications between Carrick warships. The messages mentioned a facility on a remote moon where essence extraction experiments were being conducted. When the task force arrived, they found a heavily fortified base. Using the element of surprise, the team infiltrated the facility. What they discovered was more horrifying than they had imagined. Rows of containment chambers lined the walls, each glowing faintly with the spectral forms of trapped beings, human, alien, and unrecognizable. The Carrick scientists worked methodically, extracting energy from the souls to power their war machines. Alara's fists clenched as she surveyed the scene. This ends now. The team placed charges throughout the facility, but as they prepared to withdraw, alarms blared. A massive Carrick dreadnought arrived in orbit, blocking their escape. ###. The Ghost Fleet awakens. As the task force scrambled to respond, the strange energy that had followed the Iron Veil since the destruction of the Resolute Dawn surged to life. Ghostly apparitions appeared not just aboard Alara's ship but across the entire task force. "We fight with you," came Captain Dre's voice, echoing through the comms. The spectral crew members merged with the ship's systems, amplifying their capabilities. Weapons fired with unerring accuracy, and shields absorbed impacts that would have destroyed them under normal circumstances. The task force, bolstered by the ghostly energy, turned the tide against the dreadnought. Alara's team detonated the charges, destroying the facility and freeing the trapped souls. As the last chamber exploded, a wave of ethereal energy swept through the moon, and the ghostly figures saluted the humans before dissipating into the void. ##### A new purpose. The victory was hard-won, but it was only the beginning. The Carrick's soul-binding technology was more widespread than they had imagined. Each destroyed facility revealed coordinates to more. Alera's task force became something more than a military unit, they became symbols of hope. As word spread of their exploits, volunteers from across human space joined their cause. Engineers developed new technologies to counter the Carrick, and allies from other species, who had also suffered under the Carrick's tyranny, began to rally. The ghosts of the Resolute Dawn had risen to ignite humanity's resolve, but now it was humanity's turn to rise and lead the charge. This was no longer just a fight against a weapon, it was a fight for freedom, for justice, and for the souls that could still be saved. Humanity had found its purpose in the darkest of places, and it would not falter. The Iron Veil led the charge into the stars, its crew united by a singular mission, to ensure that no one, living or dead, would ever be forgotten again.